Good Tuesday morning, everyone. Welcome to AMHQ Early. I'm meteorologist Jen Carfagno. We are tracking a major storm system now moving across the country, and this one will have big impacts from coast to coast, from California all the way to the east system. And it starts on the west coast, but it makes its way across the entire country, so you got to watch this one. It starts with this big bowling ball of low pressure dip in the jet stream coming in across the west. Look at the rain we have going on right now. Rain heavy at times across the San Diego area, up towards Santa Barbara. We've got some very heavy rain heading up to the Bay Area as well. Los Angeles, some lighter showers in the area for now, but there will be more heavier stuff coming our way later today. Could even be a thunderstorm or two. That's a possibility. We see some of this heavy rain on the move, not to mention the snow, which above 7,000 feet is going to be on the order of feet. 3 to 4 feet is possible at some of those highest spots. All right, so we're going to bring the rain not just in California, but now we're going to move it into Nevada and also into Arizona, where we have had such a dry start to the rainy season, starting to get some rain back into the picture. Rainfall will be heavy. Now, this is on top of the rain that we saw yesterday, so it's another 1 to 3 or even some places 2 to 3 inches of rainfall. Here's a closer look. So let's dive down here into the area to show you that easily 1 to 2 inches of rain will fall in LA. You know, in town, it's going to be rainy, but especially up in the hills and especially up in the mountains, that's where we've got the chance of maybe even 3 inches of rainfall, which is why, like in the Thomas Fire area, there is that concern for mudslides, places that have been stripped of vegetation. We could easily see some of that debris flow happen. A big concern. You know, it has been dry. We have had one of our top driest starts to the water year on record. So you look at average and actual, so far below in all of these spots, from Fresno to LA to San Diego, barely had any rain going back to October 1st, which is the start of the water year. All right, so that same storm system is marching across the country, and that could mean more the rest of this week, get you into the weekend. This is a long weekend for many. Monday is Martin Luther King Jr. Day, so for a lot of you, that's a volunteer day. You might be making some plans to do that this upcoming weekend. Today and tomorrow, it's all about tracking our western storm system moving east. So your forecast today into tomorrow is for the snow to move into the mountains. We're going to see snow back into Colorado after our warm start to the year. That moves out on Thursday, heads into the northern plains. Meanwhile, rain spreads throughout much of the Ohio Valley and the southeast. And this rain is on the move Friday to the eastern seaboard. So this is a rainstorm this time for D.C., for New York City, for Boston. It's not going to be snow. It's going to be rain as it tracks on in. Temperatures stay pretty mild. The snow hangs back to interior areas. But Chicago, we could end the whole event with a couple of snowflakes clearing out. It looks spectacular for some morning color out there in the sky, but really a lot of the central plains. Now, you know, after this fog, I think we'll see how good of a sunrise your sunrise is this morning in places like St. Louis, but even in the mid-Atlantic, maybe D.C., we get rid of enough of those clouds to get a good-looking sunrise this morning. Coming up more on that now, Southern California, it's going to continue to bring rain here again today for the second day in a row. Plus, we'll spread some moisture into Nevada and also into Arizona, where it's been pretty dry as well. So the heaviest of rain right now in San Diego, and then up towards Santa Barbara, and then up towards the Bay Area, getting some decent rain as well. So the two different pieces to this at the moment. The snow is going to be a bit heavier too. Up above 7,000 feet is where some of the biggest snowfall will happen in the Sierra. So rain today spreading in, continuing through this evening. We get some rain and some mountain snow in Arizona. Flagstaff, you all will finally get your snow for the season. We haven't had anything really just yet. All right, so your forecast is going to be for another inch or two, if maybe even 3 inches of additional rainfall in Southern California. Tough to believe, right, considering how little rain we have had so far to start this water year. Not much at all. But we're going to put another 1 or 2 inches of rain. The higher amounts will be up in the mountains. We'll see maybe 2 to 3 in those areas. So here is that look at average compared to what we have had. Fresno, for example, we would average close to 4 inches by now. We have barely had a ½ inch, but we're going to add a lot to that number today and into tonight. LA, San Diego, same thing as well. And then next, this system is going to head out into the middle of the country, and it becomes a snowmaker. So let's take a live Minneapolis, St. Paul, 25 degrees right now to start your day. We're heading to the upper 30s today. Enjoy your balmy couple of days, because this thing comes in and it does help pull in the moisture and the warm air out ahead of it. But then behind it, there's some more cold air to come back into the picture. So here's what happens. Tomorrow, the surface low starts to develop. We see the moisture come back across the southern plains. Their air is warm to start, but then the cold air comes in, and when the moisture and the cold air get together, then we got the snowstorm on our hands. We see that by the end of the day tomorrow. So this is your Wednesday forecast. Snow spreading in the I-94 corridor, I-90, I-80. All are going to see that changeover. Plus some gusty winds are going to be felt as well. We track our surface low up. We're going to be tracking the change in precipitation as well, changing perhaps from rain to snow in places like certainly Minneapolis will see it. Des Moines, we're likely to see it. Chicago, we'll see how much snow we get. You're going to be spending much more time in the rainfall bucket than you will the snowfall. Now, for us in Minneapolis, it's going to add up to 6 or 7 or maybe even 8 inches of snow. That would be our biggest snowstorm of the season if we get this much. We haven't had a lot of snow, kind of nickel and diming here and there, and we're running about 17 inches below average in Minneapolis. So here's a look at the overall snowfall forecast, and you can see that widespread, there's a 3 to 5 or even 5 to 8 inch snowfall expected from northeastern Minnesota right back into Nebraska. Now we go coast to coast with your Tuesday morning weather headlines. The Arctic and the Antarctic is a desert. There's just not a lot of moisture there. So that's the more of a definition of a desert than it is the heat. It's the lack of moisture. So anyway, that's your little weather 101 for the day. We'll go ahead and talk about what's happening with our next cross-country storm, where we're finally getting some moisture into what we felt like was a desert lately into California. So rain is coming back. That's a good thing in general, but it's too much at once, and it's putting people living near areas burned by wildfires at risk for flooding and mudslides. And as this storm moves east, we're going to see this be our next winter maker for the Midwest and the Northeast getting into the weekend. But we start today with what's happening right here as moisture starts to spread in throughout much of the West. It started yesterday, picked up about 1/4 to 1/3 of an inch of rain in places like Los Angeles, downtown. You got about 1/3 of an inch of rainfall. And then we are going to continue to watch the rain spread up towards the Bay Area, San Jose, etc. All right, so as the rain is on the move, and I think this particular clicker might not be working, we are going to be watching the moisture spread into places like Vegas. Consumer Electronics Show this week. You guys ready for a rainy week? Unfortunately, if you're in town for that, luckily most things are inside, because outside we're going to be having the rainfall. All right. Tell you firsthand, there's a lot of fog in the south this morning. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to AIM HQ Early. Right now, winter storm hunters taking aim at the eastern U.S. 17.5 million people are under a winter storm warning. And we've seen everything. Concerns, there's that much. All right, so let me show you what's going on with the radar. There's a lot happening out there today to talk about. Right now, we've got that changeover happening, going from rain to freezing rain and or sleet, and then over to snow. And it's happening up here through central Indiana, including Indianapolis. I'm going to zoom in there first and show you what's going on across the metro area. Eastern side of town, we've changed over to freezing rain. We're in that transition zone right now, getting into a wintry mix with sleet. The changeover to snow will come in the next couple of hours. Paducah, we're almost all over to snow, though I bet there's some sleet still mixing in for you right now. We go down to Memphis, where it is mainly sleet with some freezing rain mixed in. I just checked your observation. Sleet being reported at the airport here. Nashville, the front just came through. I just saw the wind shift happen at the airport, meaning that the wind has changed direction from south to northwest. And so we are going to start to get the cold air coming in. So get ready in the next couple of hours. You will get a changeover from rain to the freezing rain. So winter weather advisory for Nashville, winter storm warnings off to the west in West Tennessee, up through Kentucky, winter storm warnings up through western New York, western Pennsylvania, where right now we just have a ton of rain going on in places like Pittsburgh. But let's go back down to Nashville. We'll get to Pittsburgh in a minute. I want to talk about your timing. We are in rain right now. Temperatures are in the 40s through the morning rush. Wait for a change. It's going to be at the tail end. So a lot of schools are out in Davidson County. I think that's fantastic news, because by lunchtime we have freezing rain or sleet taking over the area. By the afternoon it is snow, and by this point temperatures are dropping dramatically below freezing, and that flash freeze situation is taking place here. The precip ends overnight, but we just have the cold in place, and that's going to keep things from melting. So now through tonight we're getting the precip. It's about a 1 to 3 inch snow that we get after the freezing rain, and that's going to be on the order of 1/10 to 1/4 of an inch. A 1/4 inch of ice starts to run into power outage range, so be ready for that. Temperatures will be falling into the 20s. Real quick, let me show you Cincinnati, because we too are watching and waiting for this changeover in rain for the morning, but then getting into the wintry precip by afternoon. The evening rush is going to be icy as the cold air comes smashing into Pittsburgh, and talk about the rain. We are watching that rain heavy at times all the way through tomorrow, and then we see that changeover coming later tonight into tomorrow. Temperatures falling to the 20s. We could get ice, 1/10 of an inch to 1/4 of an inch, and then 5 to 8 inches of snow on top of that. what a mess we have out here in western Pennsylvania. The rain is so heavy, it is causing flooding. There's a flood advisory I saw in the Pittsburgh area. Flood warnings are certainly going to be a possibility. I've seen flooding reports already from Pittsburgh and Washington County, also down into West Virginia. This heaviest of the rain is now moved up into northern Pennsylvania and western New York. Here's our surface low on the move today, and out ahead of it, we still have a lot of warm air and a lot of moisture coming in. So where it rains, it is going to be heavy. Not that it's going to rain, heavy rain every moment of all day today, but certainly that possibility is there, coming on top of the snowpack that we have. Now, the warmth this week actually has done us well because at least it's whittled away a decent amount of the snowpack, but we still have that concern for rain coming into the snow and just making everything slushy and clogging up storm drains, and that could cause flood concerns. That's today. Then tonight, we bring in the cold air. Here's Pittsburgh. Now's the time frame for you to change over. Buffalo will do the same thing tonight. We stay all rain through today and tonight in places like New York City and really most of tomorrow as well. I think for places like New York, maybe not as much Boston, but certainly New York City, all the precip moves out before the cold air moves in. Now, in terms of rain, for Boston, this is the rainfall forecast, 1 to 2 inches. That's not your snow. That's the rain that is still going to come from Winter Storm Hunter before the cold air comes in and we get the snowfall, especially across central and western parts of the Northeast. All right, let's go coast to coast right now with your Friday morning weather headlines and a band of strong off as we get through the weekend. All right, so I skipped through a couple maps, but let's just fast forward here into Saturday and show you what's happening as we look ahead to that forecast. Watching for this weekend to be a lot colder for a lot of you. Miami's an exception. That's a great place to be if you want warm. Temperature's going to be in the 70s, but we've got the chill all the way down into the southern plains. New Orleans, we're starting to gear up for Mardi Gras, and there we are going to be watching for temperatures to start dropping. Atlanta, temperatures only in the 30s for highs after the 60s that you've had this week. Of course, in the Northeast, we're also going to be watching for temperatures to start cooling down. It really comes in full force by Sunday. Everyone gets to feel it. That's your high temperature in New York City, only 27 degrees. All right, if you the freezing mark, in fact, we're dropping into the 20s as we speak. So here's a look at the ice potential, and I want to start with this because this is going to be one, I think, of all the weather. We're having a lot today. This is going to be very impactful for drivers. There could be power outages. Already saw in western Kentucky some power outages happening because of sleet accumulation, but freezing rain is even worse, right? It just, it sticks to the branches, to the power lines, makes them sag down, and more than 1/4 of an inch will certainly cause some more widespread problems. Right now on the radar, here's a look what's happening. We've got that changeover going on across Indiana, western Kentucky, western Tennessee. Zooming first into Indianapolis, you can see how it's the eastern side of town dealing with the freezing rain. Our temperatures have dropped. The front's through. The air is in the 20s. Now we're getting some sleet mixing in. Snow is to come, and that's where we'll find Jim Cantori, so we'll get more from him. Reynolds is in Paducah, where we're going to find a mix of snow and sleet happening right now. It's mainly been sleet, and we've had more than 1/10 of an inch. I think it's 0.15 in Paducah so far this morning of sleet. It's tough to shovel, too, because it's heavy. Memphis, mainly sleet for you so far. The snow is going to be coming in. There is going to be a small quarter of freezing rain as well. And in places like Nashville, that's what we're watching for and waiting for. The front is through. The cold air is going to start coming in. We're still warm enough that it's all rain right now. Our roads are just wet in the Nashville area for now. But as this front comes in, watch for the air to get cold, that flash freeze situation. This is 11 a.m. and I think by lunchtime, travel is going to be very difficult across the area. A lot of schools are closed, and rightfully so, because conditions this afternoon will be completely different than they are right now as you look outside. Icy first and then snowy later, and by 5 o'clock could be a couple of inches of snow coming down here in the Nashville area. Forecast for Nashville, again, it's now through tonight is when stuff will be falling. Snow will be 1 to 3. The ice accumulation 1/10 to 1/4 of an inch. Again, when we get to 1/4 of an inch, now we're start worrying about power outages, and then temperatures will be falling down into the 20s. I jumped ahead to my next graphic, but at any rate, let's just quickly look at this forecast through the south and east as we've got a lot of rain out ahead of it, but then the snow and ice behind it. We will be watching for some of this to be heavy at times. In all of it. The rain will be heavy. Some of the ice will be falling heavily as well. And certainly that cold air is on the move as well behind it. Look at Memphis already now dropping to 31. So we're below freezing. So all that sleet that you saw coming down there, that's going to be sticking, and that's going to be an issue as well. Lake Charles, our temperatures have dropped. Dallas, our temperatures have dropped. The cold air has first made its way into the plains, and it's on the move. We're going to see it eventually head over into the south and east as we get you into the next 24 hours. All right, so watching a lot of changes for today. Now, roads are not yet record high temperatures today across the north and east. That's going to be a concern for us if you don't like the warmth, but also the snow melt, the rain coming in. There's all kinds of flood issues up here into the north and east. Temperatures in the 60s in Atlanta. Behind the front, of course, we're going to be watching for the cold and that changeover from rain to freezing rain to sleet to snow. By Saturday, a lot of the precip is pulling up into the north and east, but of course the cold takes over is the big story by this point, all the way down to the south. You'll feel it by Sunday. Even Miami, we are not going to make it into the 70s on Sunday. I'll be right back in a moment with your full winter weather.